Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League breakfast.
Good morning and welcome to Business Focus, proudly brought to you by DigiPay from AFC Commercial Bank, your smart wallet. This is Business Focus brought to you by AFC Commercial Bank, DigiPay, your smart wallet.
inobatsira sei DigiPay shumba
Ndoyekushandisa kuti ubelievise patona ziba baba.
inoita sei shumba unozwa kuti smart wallet.
Okay, all you need to do is to make sure that uri kubelievisa patona zine DigiPay, you dial star 276 hash. And start sending, receiving, paying, and transacting ipapo konapo using DigiPay.
Urutaura zve real time here kuti ipapo
Real time baba, no fuss, no hustle.
star 276
hash.
star
276 hash.
Heavy.
And what was smart wallet
DigiPay.
Yes, that's what you start doing. So with DigiPay, you get money deposited into your account immediately. Usasarire kumashure, okay? Dial star 276 hash and get smart today from DigiPay, from AFC Commercial Bank. This one you need to enjoy. Munwese papa.
Star
276 hash. Kana kudzaripo pa DigiPay. Akapinda pa smart wallet yake DigiPay. It is Business Focus brought to you by DigiPay from AFC Commercial Bank. So Kudzie, we understand that obviously a number of corporates are reporting their results for the period to June 2023. What is the recurrent theme you are seeing from these results?
Thank you, Tinashe. So, in most cases, listed companies are required by their listing rules to report their financials. So they give you what they call quarterly updates, and then they give you half-year results, brief results, and then they also give you their final year results, the 12-year period. And today we'll talk about, from what you're saying, we'll talk about two companies that have released their results, and you're asking to say what is the recurrent theme that we are seeing, what is the common denominator that we are seeing from those results. Tinashe, when somebody invests in a business or even in any investment, you expect a return. And also what you look at when you're investing is the environment in which you're doing the business. And what I'm seeing from the results reported by National Foods and the results reported by Dairy Board, they are both showing that the cost of doing business in Zimbabwe is elevated, is very high. And I'll show why. So National Foods is telling us that they reported growth in revenue, and this is US dollars. They reported growth in revenue of 21.7% to $343 million. So they had growth in their revenues after selling more and also adjustment in their prices. They reported a 21.7% growth in revenue. However, their profit remains flat. What will be happening there is that the cost of doing business is increased at a higher pace than the increase in revenue. So this is what National Foods is telling us, and it shows us that the cost of doing business is very high, and it's coming from across the board. So they're talking about the cost of raw materials, where obviously the cost of raw materials, if you look at their kind of business, they deal with a lot of grains, and some of that has been affected by global geopolitical developments in Ukraine, in Russia, which has resulted in some of these grains and the prices are going up. So that one is not peculiar to Zimbabwe. But they're also telling us that the cost of power costs, also IMTT, which is the 2% tax, all those costs are also eating into their revenues. They are losing much value because of that. Their chairperson, Todd Moyo, said that reduced power availability during the 12-month period to June forced the consumer staples giant to resort to expensive standby generators to maintain product supply. So that's number one. And then when ZESA is available, they are also telling us that at the same time, ZESA costs also increased significantly in real terms. So that's the cost of business. And then Todd Moyo added that IMMT has become a significant cost to the business, and the recent reduction in the percentage applied to calculate IMT will bring some welcome relief in terms of this line, expense line. And then you go on to also interest rates. Remember, interest rates were increased last year to 200%, Basel to 150%,
yes.
which most businesses are saying are too high. And this is what National Foods is also saying, that elevated costs on Zimbabwe dollar debt following an increase in interest rates per annum to 200% also weighed on performance, with net interest costs amounting to $4.7 million. So they are saying that they had to convert their Zim dollar debts into US dollar debts. Kuti vatombotizawo ma 200% ma 150%. However, the US dollar debt yacho futi is very high. It's around 15%, which is very high in real terms. So again, the cost of doing business there being shown to be very high in Zimbabwe. So it's very difficult for companies to operate under such an environment, Tinashe. And then Dairy Board also highlighting the same. Despite recording growth in volumes, they recorded growth in volumes. However, they ended up reporting a loss.
How so? Yeah,
because of the high cost of doing business, and the Nyama interest rates is also in the scheme of things, and then the Nyama exchange rate. Yes, but son, you want to come in?
Growth in volumes.
Yes.
But vital loss.
White after loss.
But
what
pavange vasina growth, pane pavai ita profit.
It's
in volumes.
Yeah, in the past, yes,
so
they were profitable.
So the environment is no longer conducive. That's what we are saying.
That's what we are saying. Basically, that's what we are saying.
So they're just producing for the sake of being seen with the products on the market.
No, you need to survive. Kuna anonzi survival strategies. One thing that I didn't mention about National Foods, Hanzi taona kuti the cost of doing business. Remember that ma revenues avakakwira by 21%, but vaona nema volumes avaikwira food. But vaona not know. If we increase the prices, we will lose the customers. They decided not to increase their prices the same way or to meet all the costs. So they didn't decide to pass on the increased cost of doing business to the consumer. That's why that my margins, our profit margins, are very flat. Imagine watengesa 21.7% more, but ku profit uongoramba in the same profit. Zvorwadza sei wanoodha madomasi ako nhasi waodha 10 mabox but uchiri kungorekodha profit ye2 mabox.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's that's the cost of doing this. And then you go to Dairy Board. It was the same story, but also Dairy Board is highlighting the issue of the exchange rate. You're trying to juggle. Remember, okay, they must innovate. I don't know how do you innovate when the exchange rate, you're supposed to sell at the official exchange rate, and yet. And one interesting thing is with Dairy Board, their sales, 92% of their sales are now in US dollars, right? And then you hear big retailers like okay saying that only 20% of their revenues are in US dollars. Saka Dairy Board because okay, I don't think they can afford to buy things in US dollars when they're only receiving
with over 70 branches they have.
Yes, and they are only getting 20% of their revenues. So when you go, then you see manufacturers like Dairy Board, they are selling their products. 92% is now in US dollars, which means that they are no longer selling that much to my big retailers. I don't know, but they're an Zim dollar after 45 days. They are now channeling through other channels. I was reading, remember, we spoke about what Minister Tembisenyon said when she visited National Foods. She said something is going to be done because manufacturers were bypassing wholesalers and bigger retailers and going to the dark shops. And you know, I was reading one newspaper article this morning where manufacturers were saying, Mayasga, it's just to take a cash. And you can't expect us to favor someone after 45 days achitipa mazim dollar no lose value. Remember zim dollar this week rakadona ne $300 $300 something dollars. We would rather sell to anyone anomita matems edu. Arugani mara anomita matems edu we sell. So that's the business environment that we are facing, where businesses, instead of concentrating on providing services, goods and services to their customers, they also need to contend with other issues that naturally shouldn't be of major concern to them. Yes.
But we advise you, the best way to pay is right here, which is DigiPay. All you need to do is to send, receive, and pay or transact effortlessly by simply dialing *276#. AFC Commercial Bank is there for you. You can send the school fees, pay for groceries, using star 276 hash DigiPay from AFC Commercial Bank. We have a commercial break right here on Business Focus, brought to you by AFC Commercial Bank.
The best way to pay is finally here. To send, receive, pay or transact effortlessly, simply dial star 276 hash and sign up for DigiPay today. Send the school fees or money for groceries. No fuss or hassle. Be one of the first people to sign up and get money deposited into your account immediately. What are you waiting for? Dial star 276 hash or download the DigiPay app today. DigiPay, your smart wallet.
Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
Welcome back to the second segment of Business Focus, brought to you by AFC Commercial Bank, DigiPay.
Evi, Kudzie, so I've increased my volumes of business rangu. It's now increased and I eat a profit, but I've increased my volumes of business rangu. And all of a sudden, I got a loss. How does that work really?
Oh, there are many issues. There are many issues why it could be like that. Maybe for example, my volumes unogona ngokutengesa not low margin products. For example, wangochimbotengesa zvinhu zvinokupa profit ye 20%, but zvinotoda kumupa ma-volumes, so rutengesa zvinhu zvinokupa very small margin. It could be the reason. But in this case that we are talking about, it's the cost of doing business. Right now, everybody is saying that they are now having to restructure their balance sheet in an effort to fund operations using affordable forms of financing. Kunotora chikwereti kubank kwakutonetsa, because whether it's in Zim dollar loans, US dollar loans, they're expensive. Probably we will see them now coming to the market and saying to their shareholders, please give us some money. We want to expand. We need working capital. Can you follow? It's a rights issue. Follow your rights so that you can have capital, cheaper capital. So this is what needs to be sorted in Zimbabwe, where the interest rates need to be looked at and the cost of doing business needs to be looked at. Because, for example, I was giving an example. My beverages companies like Anaderibo, Delta, at some point they resort to buying water. Or maybe now they have got bowls, but at some point they're actually buying water in their processes instead of getting it from the Harare city or wherever they have got their operations. And we are not kwandogara inini tane mwedzi wese tisina mvura inogona kuya once pamwedzi hatina mvura, which means that if you are operating a business in that particular area, you have to buy that water, which makes it very expensive to do business.
Okay, this one says, I agree with you 100% on high cost of doing business, but companies need also to manage their other costs. The companies have retrenched the production staff, but they have kept a huge wage bill in management who have exorbitant benefits. Most companies now are like... there's what, I'll have to go past this one. It's a bit offensive, but you say that they believe everything on the economy, but they are also contributing to their challenges. As much as the economy is not very conducive, streamline executives and their benefits to cut on costs.
Yeah, it's something that people talk about, the benefits for management and things like that. But everything, I believe, that has to be by merit. Kune mango businesses for you to have an executive who can run that business, you need to pay them well. If you don't pay them well, they will go elsewhere. So it has to be a balance to see, okay, does this person deserve the perks that they are getting? Can we afford to lose this person in our as the head of our business? So those things, to attract talent, you need to pay, right? So you have to balance to say, okay, in the kupi kwatino loser more value. Do we reduce the perks of management, or do we retrench shop floor workers? Unotarisa kwa lose more value ndo kwa unoenda. So yeah, but I'm not denying that some executives are getting salaries and perks that they do not deserve.
This is Business Focus, proudly brought to you by DigiPay, AFC Commercial Bank. The best way to pay, star 276 hash. Let's look quickly, Kudzie, on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, the update.
Yeah, stock market
What's going on?
The market, since the beginning of the year, it hasn't performed. When you look at it from an average point of view, there are very few companies that have managed to be in the positive territory across both the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange and the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. If you look at it from an overall point of view, most investors have lost money. But remember that people invest at different times and at different prices. So imomo where the overall market seems to be in the negative territory, some people are actually making money out of it. But anyway, yesterday was another down day with the all share index down by 2.93%. The top 10 index suffering even worse with a 4.61% drop. The small cap index also facing the same 0.05% drop. The Victoria Falls Stock Exchange losing 0.75%. Stocks that did well, Citco gaining 14.75%, First Mutual Life 14.29%, CBZ, Fidelity, Mikkels were also among the risers. And then Delta was the biggest loser, down by 10.28%. That one's the biggest holding in my portfolio. That's Delta there. So yeah, Pagaipa. And then Deribor also down by 9.61%. First Mutual Property, Ariston, and Econet also amongst the losers.
So Kudzie, can we exonerate kwedu isusu kusiri ku VFX kuti it's okay because kwese kuri kudonaka our Zim dollar and the VFX zviri kudona zvese. So can we say it's the situation globally rather than kuti Zimbabwe?
Yeah, well, I haven't checked today. I didn't check on other markets in terms of how they are performing. But maybe the factors that are affecting the local markets are probably different from what are affecting the other global markets. I'm sure you're referring to the VFX, for example, to say it's a market that trades in US dollars, and yet it is coming off.
Yes.
One of the reasons why the VFX has not performed as per expectations is that there isn't enough liquidity in that market. The market is also still very young, and people are still to gain confidence in that market so that they can participate, trying to see how it works. You know, in Zimbabwe sometimes we change the laws. I know one of the incentives that was given to the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange when it started was removed a few months down the line. So people would then adopt a wait-and-see attitude to say, is it going to be the same? So, yeah, these are some of the things that investors probably are seeing and resulting in the market not performing as per expectations.
No matter how the situation might be, but the best way to pay is right here. Thanks to DigiPay from AFC Commercial Bank to send, receive, or pay. Or you can do this and transact effortlessly by dialing *276#. You sign up for DigiPay. So you can do it today. You can also get to download DigiPay application. Your smart wallet is right here. Business Focus brought to you by AFC Commercial Bank. Unaire DigiPay wangu. Garongwe *276#. Wakuto believe is about 2.
Geto rangu rautoziya zvokuitika.